One of the biggest advantages of being a CPA is that you get front row seats into the habits and how businesses that are successful, how they operate. Right, Carla?
Right. And after a while, from experience, we have learned that a lot of these business owners, you start seeing a pattern in their business. So we already know that they think differently than what most normal people do.
Absolutely. There's some aspects, right, into having a business. We know that starting and operating your own business is a very difficult adventure, right? Let's call it an adventure. It's a process, right?
Right.
So for us, we're not only being advisors to some of these companies, we're more of a sometimes even partners in some of these processes, right? So today, kind of what we're gonna go through is some of these habits and some of the things that we see that helps business owners operate, this business successfully, right? So let's start with number one. It's the number one key that we see business owners is they know their numbers, right? This is key. And by the way, we're not talking about that they obsessively spend all day
Right.
going over the numbers. It's at least they have some idea.
Exactly.
How the business operates, what they're some of those financial key components
Right.
that make up the business, right?
Exactly. They know exactly those key numbers that they must know. They don't need to know all of their financial statements, but they know gross margins.
Right.
They know cash flow. They know exactly how much money they have in their bank and how much they can spend. They know how much they will owe in taxes approximately.
Right. Right.
So yes, they need to know those details that are so important to know.
And how do they know these details? They normally work with a team, right?
Exactly.
Because it also takes time to, kind of create that process around so that you're able to know these things that you need to be aware of, right? And part of that is, one of the keys here is that you surround yourself with the right team, so you're able to kind of have that information when you need it, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, every business is on a different stage, right? Some of the businesses, you may be a startup, right? That you may not have, like, let's say, an accounting firm, like at your disposal,
Right.
or an in-house accounting team. But but the key here is that there are alternatives, there are options, right?
Right.
You can start maybe with some kind of some bookkeeping assistance as you grow. Then you grow your team with you. But the important thing is that you have the team for your situation that can help you understand these things, right?
Right. Yeah, you surround yourself with the right people, and then for us, with our clients, from experience, we get to know them better. We see their growth, or what their company is, what they're going through. So a lot of times we grow with them at the same time.
Absolutely. And we become like sort of that guiding hand as part of that growth, right? We ask the right questions, right? They may not be aware exactly. And that is definitely key. So part number two is they make decisions early, right? This is important. So, and by the way, here we're not talking about that they rush into everything, right? It's that once you realize that, or once you decide what your path moving forward is, you just, you go for it, right? And that involves, planning. That requires planning, right? That's not something that you just take out of a hat and you go, right?
Exactly.
Obviously, I always say that the hardest part is the planning, is the setup, right? Once you decide, then you just go, right? Asking questions before acting, right?
Yeah.
That's key, right? And part of that is when we go back to having your whole team, because that's when you kind of exchange ideas, right? That's when you start thinking about things that you didn't think otherwise. So preparing before growth, right?
Yep.
Things tend to, like what we see in some businesses, is the key here is to grow organically, right? But it is hard to define organic, because for some people growth can happen often,
Fast.
very fast, right? While for some businesses that may require more time.
Right.
But the key here is that you prepare for whatever the situation may be.
Exactly.
Right? Maybe the faster your growth it happens, maybe the harder it is to prepare, right? Because it's right in your face. But but there is usually those things don't happen overnight, anyways.
Right.
There is usually a time where you can start planning, where you start seeing difference, as progressively, not just overnight.
Right. And when it comes time to make decisions, you are definitely surrounded by the right team to, as we mentioned, to answer questions that you may have, but you feel like you're making informed decisions and you're not rushing. You're not rushing as to making a decision that might hurt you later. Absolutely. So that's why definitely planning is one of the biggest things that we see in our successful clients.
Right. Hey, just giving a broad example is, do I buy equipment this year? Should I wait for next year? Do I have the cash flow? Is my business cyclical, or do I have more of a, it's even throughout the year. So all these things you kind of have to work it out as you make those decisions, right? So the next one is don't chase every deduction, right? This is kind of like, part of the process when you're talking to your accountant or say your tax preparer, and you're like, okay, this is how much I want to pay. Right. Make it happen, right? And this. So you have to be very strategic here, right? Exactly. Which is how there is obviously a correlation between your business, how you run it, how you operate, and then how you how you do your taxes and how you take care of those the financial part, right? Because you got your income, you got your expenses. You have to be financially savvy and do the right decisions the right way legally. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And we have seen in our clients also working with strategies. And like I said, as we get to know our clients, maybe there is a deduction. For example, depreciation. Correct. What is it better to do? Full depreciation this year, or is it better because we already know how your books are looking the following year? So we're already making projections, and maybe it's not necessary to take the full deduction this year to pass some through to next year again, because we're looking at the entire picture. We're already thinking ahead. We're not only thinking about the current year, what just happened last year, but we're also thinking 2, 3, 4 years from now. Absolutely. As well. And that's all part of the strategy.
Right. Yeah. And then it comes to the understanding of how things work, right? Like, for example, it's like equipment is a capitalized, it's an expense. Then you might ask, depending on that type of business, right? If you're a business that typically holds equipment, right, you have to have depreciation. You can't just expense everything at once unless you're taking care of, like, let's say that 100% deduction that you're allowed to. But this is all strategy, right?
Exactly.
Don't rush into it. Doesn't make sense to do it this year, or maybe just wait to partially one year, do partially the other, right? Exactly. This is all part of a whole bigger strategy to see a bigger picture, right? That's what we see in our owners. Right. The owners that we work with, they see long term, right? They're not kind of chasing that quick
benefit, the current benefit.
Right, exactly. And sacrificing maybe future years.
Exactly.
Things that you can do further down the line, right? Another big thing when it comes to that is some business owners, they don't realize how like doing certain things can set them up for like an audit. Right. And we see that a lot, especially for self-employed. Right. Yes. That's one of the biggest kind of red flags. Ones that for what kind of naturally with the IRS, because self-employed is the one type of business where it's kind of it's very obviously self-employed. So everything that it's basically based on how you set it up. So it brings questions, right? So it's definitely one that you want to kind of think through, and that we see the business owners that we see that are self-employed and that are successful, they kind of take this very serious, right? They separate the business with their personal to the best they can, and they operate efficiently, right? And they're not guessing then at the end of the year trying to figure out what was, then it comes at the whole chaos, right? At the end of the year.
Yeah, and they let us also help them with the structure of the company, because maybe they do want to expand. Maybe they have other plans. Maybe they have other investments. Right. So what is more beneficial for them? And again, that's why we need to know the entire picture, everything that the client is asking, is wondering, or would like to do in the future.
Right. Well, we always say, right, quality over aggressive.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So the next one is they treat their CPA like an advisor, right?
Yes.
Obviously, for us, a CPA, that's for us, it's our goal, right? That's what we kind of we see the value in helping our clients once we're able to establish that relationship where they trust us, we trust them, and it's mutually beneficial, right? Because we can only we're allowed to we're able to help them as long as we have access
Right.
to them,
To them.
right?
Exactly.
And just to give you an example, like maybe a difference between a business that is efficient versus one that is not so much is, maybe one that has difficulty providing you financials, one that has difficulty giving you access to their bank
Right.
accounts.
To their information.
Ones that when you asking questions, they just all over the place. They don't know.
They don't answer back.
Exactly. So, you have to have that mutual thing going on so that you can help.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a relationship that we're building, right? It's like a plant. You plant the seed and you have to put water in it and it grows. And that's how we have to look at this relationship with our clients. Again, they have to look at us as advisors, as trusted advisors too, because these are hard decisions that they're making on something that they hold really hard,
Right.
really close to their heart.
Absolutely, and we see it with the successful businesses, right? Is they like to establish that ongoing relationship, right? They
Right.
see how
Definitely.
how quarter over quarter or year over year they see the difference between kind of just work operating in the dark versus just having that relationship where we're mutually helping each other. We're talking strategically, right, about their
Right.
business. They ask the right questions. They figure out things that they didn't think of before, and
Right.
they see the value
Right.
that it's not only in terms of the numbers, but it's also for them. It helps them kind of have that peace of mind.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and our clients actually look forward to these meetings, right? To actually sitting down with us, taking the time to really look at what has happening, look at the projections. They actually enjoy these meetings. It's the feeling that I get from sitting down with them.
Absolutely. To me, it's sort of that kind of that, especially from the ones that used to do it the traditional way, that if they show up in March and April. Yes, it's kind of having through that whole anxiety process where it's just chaotic, right? They don't know. They're nervous. They think they're going to get audited. They don't know what's going on. They don't really trust the CPA. I mean, how you trust them? You only see them once a year,
Exactly.
right? And then once they switch over to that kind of ongoing process, it's a huge difference.
Right. No, we notice it. Believe me, we notice it. We notice, like you just said, the ones that come to us maybe once it gets closer to year end as well,
Right.
versus the ones that have been meeting with us constantly throughout the year. It's collaboration. It's teamwork.
Absolutely. The last one, but not the least, is the long-term thinking, long-term, right? The strategic long-term process that they set for themselves, right? And that involves, right? It's about building wealth, right? It's about thinking long term. It's not just year over year. I don't want to hit. I don't want to have profits leftovers. I don't care. I just kind of I'm operating my business year to year, right? To me, it's like it's that way we see the difference, right? The long term thinking, how that helps, right? Because it's key here. It's goals, right? We see that some of those successful businesses, they're very goal oriented at times. Right?
Yeah.
And that can really help you drive how you make this decision.
Right.
Right.
And we notice it also on the clients that are patient also. Because you don't have to rush all the time. And the growth doesn't always come fast. Like we said at the beginning of this. The growth sometimes takes time because you have to let the process work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then with your own employees, with the economy, how it is and everything. So, and I think what's the biggest thing is the patience, right? That really has a difference. That really makes a difference in the business owners that we see. So having said that, I think so we kind of gave you guys kind of a what we see, what we tend to see. There may be some that we didn't touch, but these are like just some of the major things, some of the major things that we see.
And we and our most successful clients, we see that are those that are acting proactively.
Yes.
Right? Not reactively. Those that act proactively by going to meeting with us constantly, trusting the numbers, trusting the process, knowing their numbers, Those are definitely the most successful clients that we see in our business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that comes after so many years of experience that we have in this, right?
Correct.
We see the difference between that, just being that reactive, just showing up in March, April, the whole chaotic, right? The whole anxiety, we don't know what's going on, versus an ongoing proactive relationship with
Right.
your advisor, right? It's not the accountant that is gonna pull teeth out and just how much am I gonna pay this year? I don't want to meet with them. It's more like, okay, this is who's gonna help me achieve what I wanna achieve out of my business.
Right.
So, well, I guess I think that pretty much finishes our discussion today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you like this video, please follow us, hit the like button, and we'll see you for more content down the line. Thank you.